Okay, we're back for part two. And part two is going to be us talking a little bit about the smaller rooms. And there was 7, 8 floors of small rooms. And the big rooms are very, very big, and the small rooms are actually quite small.
Yes.
But they were still managing to get great sound. Now, keep in mind that on the first two levels, the top two levels of the hotel, they actually have some suites there, which are quite large, and they were able to bring in some nice big systems. So we'll get started. I'm gonna really talk about the rooms that impressed me and some of the newer things that we saw. So one of the things that we saw was they had the Borison speakers, I believe, on the 16th floor, and it might have been the three-way Borison. I think they were around 80 something thousand dollars.
Yeah.
They sounded good. The next one was the new YG Acoustics. So YG Acoustics came out with a Summit Series line of speakers. They had, I think they were part aluminum, part wood. A whole new line for them, more affordable. The ones we were listening to, I think, were around 25,000, give or take, and they sounded good. But I was, as far as debuts from YG, I was really impressed with their all active speaker,
Yes.
which I'll get into more. It was, if memory serves me correct, right around $58,000, and it was more. It looked more like their normal series, their main series, not the Sonya, but something like that, and the Haley Sonya. I kind of forget all the names that they have, but. That active speaker was absolutely phenomenal. In fact, I told the guys from YG, I did see one of the owners, and I did see Steve Huntley, the sales rep there, and I told Steve, this is by far one of the best YGs I've ever heard, and he agreed. It's definitely active speakers was something that we saw a lot of,
Yes.
and I'm the only guy I think that's talking about this. Nobody else has
Right.
really noticed, but there was. There was active avant-gardes. I mean, active horn speakers, active trios. I mean, and it was phenomenal. It was definitely one of the best I'd ever heard the trio sound. And I'll get into that a little bit later. There was active Paega speakers. There was active YGs. There was on and on. There was new debuts of active speakers. You might say, "Oh, active! I like to have my own amplifiers on," and that's great. And there'll always be that opportunity. But from what Mike and I see on a daily basis, we have people that come in. They have nice condos or smaller homes, and they want a system that just gets out of the way. They want the speakers. They don't want boxes and cables and stuff everywhere. And there's a lot of benefits to active. One of them is that a lot of the companies have implemented, room EQ, DSP into the speaker, which is done in the digital domain. So there's no analog to digital to analog to digital. There's none of that all back and forth, which really can ruin the sound. It's all done in the digital domain. So you can actually place the speakers a lot closer to, the back wall. There's setups that we saw where you could have this one speaker on the left and then a cabinet and a TV and a speaker that's not perfectly parallel, but it actually with time domain and DSP, it actually sounds really good.
It does.
So there's a lot of flexibility and a lot of options, along with the cleanliness of an active speaker. So yeah, maybe it's not for 95% of the people out there who are hardcore audiophiles, but there is a lifestyle part of it that we are starting to see more and more people ask for. And so hats off to YG, Avant-garde, Paega, and some of the other companies that are noticing this and implementing it. Lin is another one that has active as well. And I think Estalon, they may or may not still have an active speaker, I don't know. Goldman was very popular, I believe, with active speakers for a while. There's a lot of companies out there.
Yeah. But one more point on active speakers. The amp that's built into the speaker is voiced for that speaker.
Right.
So when you have companies like this, Avant-garde, YG, top companies, that amp is voiced for that speaker. I mean, that's what
something.
a lot of people are looking for.
Yeah.
They want to know what the speakers were voiced with at the
Yeah.
factory. Well, there you go.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. Sounded very, very good. Onto the 15th floor. We had some really good rooms there. I enjoyed the On a Higher Note room. Philip O'Hanlon, if you've never met him, he's quite the character with
He's
the
a
bow tie
character.
and the hat and everything. Great guy. Especially later in the evening when the drinks are flowing. It's a lot of fun to hang around with Philip.
Yeah.
But he had he had brought in a live musician. This lady played the harp, and it sounded absolutely beautiful in the room. I actually bought two of her records on the spot, so that was a real treat. Also, MBL. They weren't debuting anything new, but again, the 101s were set up with the 9008s, and they were getting, the MBL amps and electronics. Again, getting great sound. They had a smaller room on the same floor in the same area where they had the 126s with the Noble electronics from MBL, and again, getting great sound. So the thing about MBL is that the tweeter and the mid-range are all shared throughout all the speakers in the lineup. So even the littlest one is getting the same great tweeter and mid-range. So Jeremy put on another great show and had great sound again. And hats off to those guys. Let's see here, Mike. What else stood out for you? Anything in particular in the smaller rooms?
So I forget the name again of those speakers that you showed me. You walked me into. They were an open baffle.
Oh, the open baffle.
And
The spatial audios, or
maybe it was an open baffle speaker. Had the angled top.
Oh, that was a young company out of Florida. There's the designer, I believe, I did meet him, and he was like 19 years old, and the product looked very, very good and sounded good, and it looked finished. I mean, it looked,
Yeah.
it was a really good product for sure.
They disappeared into the room.
They
It was
did.
incredible.
Shout out! I really actually enjoyed the Bryston Eggleston Works room. I thought they were getting really good sound in there. They were showing the new Bryston preamp with the DAC built in, and they were getting very, very good sound in there. Let's see. We spent a lot of time, Mike and I, in the Arrender room. So we're dealers, and they were showing us some of the new products. Arrender's coming out with a master clock, and I believe you can clock up to 4 devices off of it. So if you have something like an N20, N30 SA, W20 SC, something like that, along with maybe an esoteric product or some others that have clock options, this is something to look at. They didn't really get into pricing too much, but it's definitely going to be more on the expensive side, 25, 30 grand, somewhere in there. But it did look like, they had spent a lot of time and built a world-class clock. So we're excited to see that.
It was a beautiful piece. That whole room was incredible. The static display.
Static display. They had a set of Icon audio speakers set up, and they were playing, and that's another active speaker.
Yeah.
And they were playing, and it was sounding good. But we were more interested in seeing the new products like the A15, the new clock, and finding out some of the new things that are coming out from Arrender. Sound United. So Bowers and Wilkins Class A. One of my favorite rooms. I really enjoyed that room. I was shocked at how good the 801 D4s were sounding in a smaller hotel room, but they had them dialed in, and I really enjoyed the talk from the gentleman from Bowers and Wilkins regarding the new technology in the speakers. Again, a great pairing. The Class A Delta Monos with the Bowers and Wilkins are all the same family now. That was a really, really good pairing, along with the Macintosh B&W we heard. And then we've also found Simaudio is a great match with B&W, and so is Luxman. So among others, I mean, they sound really good. So the new, as I was saying in the other video, the new 800 D4 series, if you've not heard it, you definitely want to get out. You owe it to yourself, because this is not your father's 800 series speaker. This is, these are the real meal deal. They've knocked it out of the park with this new D4 series. So hats off to those guys. Another really, really good room.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else? Let me skip down to some of the other rooms. Let's see. I believe, if memory serves me correct, Atmosphere was debuting a Class D amplifier that was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
The Gerschman Acoustics room was always gets really good sound.
Yep.
That sounded very good. What else? The Linkwitz. You like the Linkwitz room?
I did.
That yeah. I mean,
I did.
they look weird, and I know he's a genius or was a genius, and that was an interesting room. It sounded very good.
I was blown away
yeah.
by that. That room was incredible.
That was
Spectacular.
very, very good. We spent some time in the Lumen room and got to speak with the distributor about some of the new products that are coming out. So that was a lot of fun and very eventful. Let's see. Oh, another room that was outstanding was the Rockport room. They had the Rockport with the still points.
Yeah.
What was it? $26,000 speakers and $80,000 worth of still points. Or something?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
but nonetheless, it sounded very, very good. That room, and they had Viola Audio Labs there, and the Viola amplification is something I haven't really seen in the last few years at shows, or last 5 years at shows. It was something that was very, very prevalent, maybe 2014. So it was good to see them back on display, and again, it sounded very good. The Moon Audio room, the Sim Audio Moon room, that sounded very, very good. Let's see, what else was there? Anything else that you recall, Mike?
What was the room with they're the Class D amps, but they have the tube.
Oh, the IGD or whatever it was. Is that the name of the company? I think it was. I think it's IGD or.
I forget the name of it.
AGD. I forget. But yes, that sounded fantastic.
That room was incredible.
That was.
And they had the Ocean Wave speakers in there.
Yes, that sounded really good.
I was in there for a while.
That sounded very. Let me just bring up my notes here real quick.
AGD
amps. Yeah, those are the amps that they look like they are tube amps, but there's actually Class D technology in the tube, and that sounded really good.
Yes.
On the 16th floor, I think my absolute favorite room. So I really like as I mentioned, the Dyne Audio Octave room on the main floors. It sounded really good. But upstairs, the Avant-garde Trio G3. So this was the worldwide debut of the Avant-gardes, and I was completely blown away by this new active horn system. I was very skeptical going in because I've been selling, implementing, and living with at home avant-gardes for many years, and I know how tricky they can be to get right with the right amplifier, the right cables, the right source. You got to know what you're doing. You can't just hook them up to any old amplifier and expect great results. So I was a little bit skeptical of how the all-active horn speakers would sound, but let me tell you, I was able to grab the iPad, pick my own music, and put them to the test, and they passed with flying colors.
Yes.
In fact, I left saying that's the best I've ever heard the avant-garde sound.
I would agree. I went in there for a full training on how everything works, and it's insane how involved these speakers are and how much R&D went into these speakers.
Yes.
They are not messing around.
No.
There's so much technology that they've put forth, and we're going to get to see them. They sounded incredible, and I can't wait for them to hit the market. That
agreed.
room was very, very good. It blew me away.
Yes, and we will see, no doubt, I'm sure at Munich we'll see other speakers in the lineup getting the same G3 treatment.
Yes.
The cool thing is, if people are like, well, no, I'm in love with my 300B amp, and that's fine, that would probably be me. But if you are, you still have that option with the avant-gardes. So if you look on the side, it was, this giant box was the active part, and then below that was another part shooting up. I've actually posted pictures online. You can on audioshark.org. So if you're not a member, you might want to join and you can take a look. But you can actually see where you can connect speaker terminals to it. So if you connect your amplifier to it, I'm saying, So if you want to do that, you still have that option. Flick the switch, and you can listen to your favorite amp. So really, amazing.
You can go back and forth.
Yeah, back and forth for sure.
So it's optional.
What else? So that definitely was one of my top 2 rooms for sure. What else, Mike? Let me go through some of my notes. One of the most unusual looking speakers I've ever seen, and I saw the ones that look like laundry machines in Munich, so I've seen some weird ones, was the Airy Surat. These were 138,000 with all the upgrades for just the speakers. They were on wheels, some sort of odd looking stand. They were at an angle, they sounded good. I mean, I hate to admit, they sounded really good.
These aren't the ones that were like on two, like
they were kind of like a weird angle, like they were up and tilted. They were like a square. They were and they were a horn, and they were in that really small room.
I remember.
Yeah, he was on the long wall.
Yeah.
And the equipment was Airy Surat, so they had the amps and the DAC, and it sounded really good.
Yes.
Really good.
It did.
I'm not sure I would, that's my cup of tea visually, but sonically it was very engaging. A really simple system that sounded great was the Mirror Audio Hegel 390.
Yeah.
I mean, they had the little integrated from Hegel. They had the Mirror Audio speakers, which are electrostatic, and they sounded really good.
They did.
Yeah, I think that's a great pairing. I thought that was really, really good.
It's so simple.
A speaker company, I believe, out of Long Island that was in a few rooms was Alta Audio, and had a ribbon tweeter, and I thought those speakers in all the rooms I went in sounded pretty good. That was nice. We got to hear we mentioned earlier, the Luxman 507Z with the Harbass. Again, great sounding new integrated from Luxman. We're really excited to get ours here in the store and play with it. Let's see, what else?
There's just so much.
The little Polk Audios.
Yes.
For $749. And I think they were playing with a Marantz receiver and a CD player.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the whole system was like $4,000. And if you're new to audio and you want to get in, this was really a fantastic sounding entry level system. I mean, the $750 Pokes sounded fantastic.
Yeah.
So,
I sat down in that room. He told me to go. We weren't in that room together.
Yeah.
He told me to sit down in that room, and I sat down in that room. And they were putting on a little bit of a presentation.
Yep.
The guy's like, there's no subs in this room. And I'm like, these speakers are tiny. Why would you think there's subs?
Yep.
And as soon as they started playing, I just couldn't believe it.
Couldn't believe it either.
$749 a pair. So
sounded absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
Great little room.
I think that's pretty much it for the standouts. I would tell everybody, whatever you read or hear about shows, take it with a grain of salt. The rooms are difficult. The power is mediocre at best. And so if you didn't like something we said, or you read something and your favorite brand wasn't mentioned or whatever, don't take it too seriously, because honestly, shows are extremely difficult to get right. The rooms, you're thrown in there, you've got a day to set it up and get it sounding great. Meanwhile, you're trying to do 27 other things, so you're literally racing to get the best sound that you can. So I think the shows, you really need to go and just get a flavor, even if it's something that you heard and you weren't overly impressed, give it another shot, because the show environment is it's very hostile. From the environment, the room, the power, everything that's going on, the people next door to you, they may be blasting their giant subwoofers that they're trying to sell.
Yeah,
so,
the SVS room.
Yeah, the SVS room. It's always shaking the walls.
Explosions coming from the end of the hall.
Yeah, but the takeaway for me was it was great to be back to Axpona.
Yes.
The organizers did a terrific job. There was a great attendance. Really good to see the manufacturers come out and support the show. And we're definitely looking forward to next year. I'll be there, and it's always a lot of fun. Don't forget, the Florida Audio Expo will be February 17th, 18th, and 19th. The contract is signed. We're ready to go. So if you're thinking about warming up a little bit in February and you want to come to a fun show, we're targeting 80 rooms this year. So it is certainly smaller than Axpona, but it's still it's a good quality show. We have a lot of great vendors come out, and it's a fun time. You can never go wrong in February in Florida.
Yeah.
So we hope to see you all next year.
We do.
Over and out.
Cheers.